easy topic to tackle, possibly, with some. We may be stepping on some toes here with regard to this topic. But I think it's important with how pervasive it is in our culture and how accessible it is, readily accessible it is to us, how we should respond to it, and how we need to be able to think about social media in general, especially the amount of time that we spend using it. 20 years ago, probably now 30 years ago, maybe, I guess you could say, you wouldn't even be talking about this, would we? How many of us remember growing up without cell phones and without social media? Yeah, just about everybody, right? But the generation now, who are early 20s or younger, they've never known anything different. And this is it's uncharted territory, really, with our culture, and in some ways very similar to the invent of the TV or the car, or a bunch of other things that really changed the world and how we view the world and how we interact with each other. But this particular thing is of special concern and interest because it is affecting so many people. Now, how have our culture and world been affected by social media? What are some of the pros and cons? Yeah.
It's almost too fast sometimes in the news without.
Okay.
Everyone has to know about bad news that happens in other countries all at the same time.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to not know everything.
Yeah. Current events, you know it right away. Yeah. You wake up in the morning, you know everything major that's going on. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone has a voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's good or bad.
Okay, everyone can have the voice or have the potential of having a voice, yeah, whether it's good or bad. Yeah.
I think it is really good at creating like false realities for people, because you only see what you want to see. Like you see somebody who's got a Lamborghini or something and has a super nice house. You're like, oh, I want that, and then you're constantly seeing that, and that's all you can think about. And it creates like a false sense of what life should look like.
Yeah.
All you care about.
People only post the good parts of their lives.
Yeah, that's a big point. We're going to talk about that, the dangers of covetousness and the dangers of creating a false reality, a false hope about life and what life can be. As you see somebody that's supposedly has everything perfect, but that's not reality, is it? We all understand that's not reality, that everybody has problems no matter who you are. In fact, if you get really popular on social media, you're probably going to have a whole host of problems that most people don't have. So just to give some perspective, though, how pervasive it is, I've got some current statistics for you. So the social media dominance is measured by the percentage of the total U.S. population that actively uses or accesses a platform. YouTube, 84% of adults are on YouTube actively, okay, in the various age brackets. Facebook, 71% of U.S. adults, roughly 195 plus million active users. Instagram, 50% of U.S. adults. TikTok, 37% of U.S. adults. WhatsApp, 32%. Reddit, 26%. Snapchat, 25%. And remember, these are adults. But the younger that you get, which ones do the young people use? You guys that are younger, you know this. Okay, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. Those are more popular for the younger groups. These statistics go way up when you go into 18 to 29, Gen Z, young millennials. 93% of them use YouTube, 65% use Snapchat, and 59% use TikTok. Now that's 18 to 29. And the statistics are similar with even younger ages, down into the lower teen years. Now, something very eye-opening is the average daily time spent. Guess how much time, on average, this is everybody, kids through old adults. Okay, what do you think the average time spent per day on social media? Close. Jeff said 2.5. 2 hours and 16 minutes is average across the board. 52 minutes, teens 90 minutes on TikTok, YouTube 45 to 48 minutes, Facebook 31 to 35 minutes. Now, as we move down to the younger generation especially, and this is why it's so important and why we need to discuss this, especially for this next generation, is that the gap, the teen time gap, according to new data from Gallup and screen time reports, social media apps, U.S. girls spend 5.3 hours a day, teenagers. U.S. boys, 4.4 hours per day. And the amount of time that the boys are not spending, that the girls do spend on social media, guess what they're using it for? Video games. That's why the boys' usage is lower, because the rest of that hour, that other hour, is on video games. And so 4 to 5 hours a day in this teen group, okay? So much of that has to be happening at school, but then how many hours per day? Imagine harnessing those hours and what they could learn in that amount of time, not doing that. Okay, but still, it's eye-opening for adults even. 2 hours a day. How many of us could honestly raise our hand and say, I study the Bible in a 2-hour block every day? Not me. And so how much time are we really spending on this? And so he's going to give us some lessons to think about because it's very, very important for our families for a lot of reasons. Time is just one of them. But in March of 2017, it revealed that frequent use of multiple social media platforms caused strong feelings of social isolation. We are the most connected generation of all time, yet we're more isolated than ever before. Many young people have virtual friends, but few real friends. I would say that's the truth for a lot of adults too. They have a lot of virtual friends, but not that many real friends. A December 10th, 2016 social media study showed that it increases anxiety and depression. And since 2010, suicide in young people is up 13%. This trend is not heading our culture and our society in a good direction. And in a lot of ways, we have to be very suspicious and cautious about it. Because I remember years ago watching, I forget what the program was, but it was interviews of the big tech giants, the guys that started Facebook and YouTube and these different social media companies. And they purposely invented them to be addictive. And it's physically addictive. As you scroll through it, and they call it doom scrolling as you're going through social media and looking, it's purposely creating a new stimulus every time you're looking at something new. And if you catch yourself, you're going back to your phone, and then you want to get the next dopamine hit or the next good feeling. Oh, I'm going to go back to my phone. I'm going to do this. That's how games on the phone are created to be that way, and social media especially is created to be that way. So it's something we can very easily develop an addiction to. So just like any other addiction, we have to put guardrails on this to curb our desire to be part of it, to do it, or else we're going to get ourselves into some very sticky territory. Yeah?
Facebook Meta just settled for $17 billion.
Yes.
Because of the
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And they know it for sure. And there's countries actually that passed legislation that aren't allowing teenagers to have social media anymore because of how addictive it is. So we have to be very careful what we allow our children to do, and how much time. The older that we get, young adults need to be very cautious growing up with this your entire life to see how much time is being wasted and how addicting it is. And so we're going to look at these lessons that he gives. Bear with me here because there's 16 lessons. We may or may not go through all this scripture, but some good passages here for you to review on your own as well if we don't get to all of them. But lesson 1, be careful. Social media is addicting. Social media is addicting. Make no doubt about it. It was engineered to be habit forming. If you're going to use it, you have to have discipline to guard against spending hours and hours on social media. 1 Peter 2:11 says, I beg you, as sojourners and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against your soul. Wage war against your soul. So this is one of those areas, if we're not really careful, it can take over. It can be one of those things that we lust after, that we're constantly wanting, and we have to check ourselves. Lesson 2, constantly ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? That needs to be a daily question, really. Is this the best use of my time? Because we have responsibilities as a servant of Christ. What does James 4:14 remind us? Anybody have that? James 4:14. Okay, good.
Whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away.
Yeah, we don't have much time here, do we? So how are we using it? Are we wasting it? Are we using it on something good for God's purposes? We have responsibilities as Christians. We have to set limits on certain things on purpose. Lesson 3, walk in the Spirit, not the flesh. Okay. Social media enlivens our emotions. It appeals to the fleshly desires. It's very easy to get swept away by those things. Just like we talked about, Nathan mentioned earlier, how easy is it to see somebody's perfect life, and then that's what you desire. You're constantly seeing someone else with these things, and you want them things, and so it's a waging of war against the flesh, not wanting to constantly satisfy those desires of the flesh, which are constant in social media. We need to be pursuing the things that are of the Spirit. That's what Galatians 5 says. Lesson 4, do not miss out on the joy of face-to-face contact. So much of this has created a situation where we don't meet with people face-to-face anymore. I had the opportunity to start my young life in Kansas. My experience obviously wasn't with social media or any technology when I was young, but my experience as a child was life on a farm. We had a lot of animals, and we had an orchard. There's always something to do, chickens to take care of, and things that we did for fun was ride our bike down to the neighbor's house about a half a mile down the road, and we'd just go there and we'd spend the day and sometimes call mom and tell, hey, we're going to spend dinner down here. Okay, all right. And that was life. And face-to-face contact with people constantly. How many people won't even look you in the face today? It's very difficult sometimes to have a conversation without, my phone's recording this here, but without somebody picking up their phone or being distracted by, I got to check that. Yeah, how was your day? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's just this constant need to want to look at it because it's addictive. And they've trained their mind, trained themselves to do that. As humans, we read body language. It tells us a great deal about the tone and feelings of someone. And while we're in that conversation, it's something that we can't get with social media, is it? That true face-to-face interaction and contact. And so make time to have that. 2 John 1:12, he says, having many things to write to you, I did not wish to do so with paper and ink, but I hope to come to you and speak face to face. So I was at the dentist earlier today, and thankfully the Novocaine wore off, so I wasn't out here doing this to it. But I had to have a receding gum line filled a little bit. And the nurse that helped, she asked, well, what are you doing tonight? Because I told her, is this going to wear off before this evening? I'm going to have to teach. She said, well, what are you teaching? And I told her Bible study and what we were talking about. She said, oh, that's speaking my language. So we started a conversation about what we're discussing. And she said that one of her daughters owns a business. And she said that she's always trying to consult her, meet with these clients, go face to face, do things, and get to know people. And she said everything's done through email, through text, and she doesn't want to meet anybody. She'd rather just send a text and communicate with people that way because it's easier. A lot of times it's less confrontational, isn't it? But through email and text, we talked about this before, you can't see somebody's facial expression. You can't hear the tone of what they're saying. You can't pick up on body language. Really? You don't get that through a text unless they're yelling at you in all caps, but then that's rude, so you're not going to send that to a client, right? But there's a lot you don't pick up on without that face-to-face interaction. And most situations, if you're face-to-face and if there's some contention, you can break down that tension. You can break through the wall of hostility with people. And if you handle it in a congenial way, you can work through things. But if you're trying to handle an argument or a really contentious situation over email or text, how's that going to go? How's it going to turn out? Usually not very well. Yeah.
I was going to say, we have a word for those customers at my office. They're called keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warrior, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that's the only way some people will communicate today. They won't even pick up the phone where you can at least hear them and hear the tone. So make face-to-face contact. Lesson 5, look people in the eyes when they are with you. That I shared with you before. This is one that I'm constantly trying to do better at. I struggle sometimes with looking people straight in the eye and talking to them and carrying on a conversation. Give people your undivided attention. Don't give it to your phone. So next time you're in a conversation, make sure that the phone's not there, being a distraction, that you're not thinking about that instead of talking with the person. So when we look at it, when we allow it to interrupt us, we're not saying to that person, you're important to me. You're not as important to me as this device, right? Lesson 6, use social media to encourage, not discourage. Hebrews 10:24, what's that say? Somebody probably quote that.
And let
Right.
us consider how we may spur one another on toward good love and good deeds.
Right. So we're supposed to be spurring one another on, supposed to be encouraging each other toward love and good deeds, not using it to discourage, which unfortunately a lot of what we see on there is discouraging, isn't it? Lesson 7, they aren't real friends. They aren't real friends. John 15:13, what does that say? What did Jesus say there? John 15:13. Yeah.
Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend.
How does that work out if you're only friends on social media? Doesn't go very far, does it? It's not much of a sacrifice to put on there, I'm praying for you. Hope you're okay.
It's just I want to know information. I'm glad to
Yeah.
know. Like,
Yeah.
did you hear this? Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah, so if we want to really lay our lives down for each other, we got to physically be present. We got to do things for one another. We have to serve. We have to show that we love one another. The right kind of friend will make you want to be a better Christian. Real friends invest time and energy. Real friends listen. Real friends share common interests. Real friends do things together. Real friends tell the truth. Real friends protect and overlook faults. Help bear our burdens because they're loyal. Proverbs 27:17, that's my license plate, so I have to quote it here. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Can't do that. You can't physically help each other if you're not with each other. Lesson 8, avoid bragging. Avoid bragging. There's a lot of that on social media, isn't there? Bragging. Avoid bragging. Proverbs 27:2 warns us, let another man praise you, and not your own mouth, a stranger, and not your own lips. A lion doesn't have to tell anybody he's a lion, right? Social media is used a lot for bragging, isn't it? Scripture that's always been one that I've shared with our boys is Proverbs 22:29. I didn't give you that on here, but Proverbs 22:29. Somebody want to read that for us? Okay, go ahead.
Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank.
Yeah, so develop a skill. Instead of being on social media, use that time. Develop a skill. Learn something. Learn a trade. Learn something that's valuable to other people. And ultimately, when you use your time wisely to develop skills that can be used, who can you serve? Who can you serve before? God. And you're going to use those qualities and those good things to help the Lord and His kingdom to grow. Because He's the one that's going to be able to provide true reward, not things that are promised by social media. Lesson 9, watch out for envy and discontent. This is more about what we were talking about earlier. Everybody else's life looks better than yours on social media, doesn't it? Nicer cars, nicer home, better jobs, nicer vacations, on and on and on and on. But that's not reality, is it? Virtual reality is not reality. And it's not healthy either. Because it often causes us to start putting unrealistic expectations on our own spouse and our children and our family members and people that are around us. We need to be content no matter what our situation. So let's read this Philippians 4:11 through 13. This is Paul, familiar passage. I'm sure Paul talking about how he was able to be content in any situation. Philippians 4:11 through 13. Okay, go ahead.
Not that I speak in respect of one, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me.
Yeah. So in whatever situation we're in, we need to be content. Now, I always like to throw that caveat out there because is it bad to have wealth? Is it bad to have lots of money? God blesses you with that, and you work hard, and you prosper. No, it's not. But what does God expect you to do with that wealth? To give with it, to promote His purpose, to promote His kingdom. And the more you do that, the more He's going to bless you. But you can't do that if you're not around people, can you? You can't do that if you don't have true connection with others. Lesson 10, don't allow social media to stifle prayer. Take time to be still and know that He is God, Psalm 46:10. Social media eats up a lot of time, and it can be very hard to draw near to God if we don't have a consistent prayer life. Lesson 11 is conduct yourself on social media like you would in person. Going back to the difference between writing something and saying something face-to-face with somebody. There are a lot of things that we read on social media that people would never say in person. But they can get away with it on social media, right? We all heard about the mean tweets of Donald Trump, right? You probably wouldn't say half of those things face-to-face to people. But you can get away with it on social media, posting a tweet, right? But we're tempted to use it the same way at times, aren't we? If we're not careful, we can't just throw something out there and put out this, horrible thing about someone or something, especially if it's not something we would say if we were there in person, right? So we have to be very careful because those posts do appear in public. It might be seen by hundreds or even thousands of people. And we have to remember that through it all, we represent the bride of Christ. And we have a responsibility to keep up that reputation. Lesson 12, don't allow social media to blind you about false beauty. As what does 1 Samuel 16:7 say? What does God see? 1 Samuel 16:7. Man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. That's where the real beauty is, isn't it? Don't let anyone's false image discourage you or to believe that beauty is found only in the outward appearance. Lesson 13, be careful about what you allow into your mind. We're told in Matthew 22 that we're to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and with all your mind. So what are we putting in our mind? What are we thinking about most during the day? It's a constant concern that it might influence us more than His Word. We're opening up a window that will influence our mind. Lesson 14, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Yes. So don't send or receive images that are not glorifying to God ever, period, he said. Do not give out personal information to those you do not know. This is an area of danger, especially for the teenage group. There's recently I forget because it's been a while since I read it, but there's recently been a growing increase in people scamming teenagers. And it's pretty common for people that are trying to groom young teenagers to send and receive explicit images through Instagram and other social media accounts. And when the parents don't know about it, and then these teenagers, they're taking these images or using them or downloading them, and then the person that sent it to them reveals it to somebody or threatens to reveal it to somebody else or to a parent and scares them and says, if you don't want me to tell so-and-so that you have these images, then you have to send me $100. You have to send me $200. And they make them Venmo them or send them money to keep their reputation or to keep somebody else from knowing that they've seen these things or they've been viewing these things. It's a growing trend. There's been people that have gotten stuck doing it. So we need to know about those kinds of things and put up guardrails and be very careful that our kids aren't getting into those sorts of things. Lesson 15, use social media to reach the lost. Great Commission is to go into all the world. Okay, so this is a way we can go. Make sure we use it to share the message of Christ. Use social media to promote things of the church, promote events, share with people about what you're doing for the Lord. Do not take that responsibility lightly. And then finally, lesson 16, be careful not to make idols. Careful not to make idols. So hopefully these lessons will help as you navigate. Obviously, there's a lot more that could be said. There's a whole other section he gives in this book if you want to get this book at some point. There's like 10 more things that he discusses in a different section. But that's a good start, right? And so we're going to transition now into your smartphone is killing your family. You didn't know that, did you? But it is in a lot of ways. It really is. When you go out to a restaurant, he brings this up. I've actually watched this, seen it, restaurant. What do you see? You see a family over in the corner or next to you?
Or a couple, we see that a lot.
Yeah.
I see that a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Pay attention sometime, and you'll see it. You'll see couples that spend the whole meal on their phone, and they're sitting right across from each other. Entire families And one of the studies that he mentions, Boston Medical Center study, confirmed they observed 55 families eating dinner together at a restaurant. The parents in 40 of those 55 families were seen absorbed in their mobile devices, with 1/3 of the parents spending the entire time on their device. And then in another study, it found 90% of people reported that their relationships have been damaged as their significant others were ignoring them in favor of their device. Another study announced that today's college students spend between 8 and 10 hours using their cell phone in some capacity every single day, with 60% of them admitting that they are addicted to using their phone. That's very, very concerning, isn't it? And so pay attention the next time that you're with your family. And I have to be the first one to admit this is an area, even in my own family. There's work to be done. There's things that could be done to make it better, to where we're not on these devices when we're face to face with one another. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But those are some of the statistics on device usage that should alarm us. And so he gives us this quote. By trying to be everywhere at once, we're nowhere. And it's damaging marriages and hurting parent-child relationships. And I would say all of our relationships, really. Now this is kind of interesting too, because another tech study concluded that even having a smartphone present, regardless of whether or not you even look at it, greatly damages the quality of your in-person interactions and gives us less ability to relate with the people who we are conversing with. Even without the active use, just the presence of the mobile device has a potential to divert individuals from their face-to-face exchange. They miss subtle cues, facial expressions, changes in their tone, less eye contact, even if it's just in the same room with them, and they're not even looking at it. It's having that much of a mental effect on our interactions with one another. So we need a solution. Right? How do we change this trend? Change has to start with us. And so he gives us some things to think about, but what do you think? What are some boundaries that you could implement, even in your own home, that would help to deal with this? Yeah? Okay, no phones at the dinner table. After reading that, no phones in the dining room. Yeah, right? Okay, put them in the kitchen and leave them there for the meal. Right? So you're not distracted. What else? Yeah?
You hear in the news lately that a lot of school districts are restricted, that they can't be brought in, or they gotta be turned in the morning.
Yeah.
So they're sort of eliminating them in the schools, which is a good thing.
Yes, yeah, they have like cell phone boxes or places where they have to check them in, check them out. You know, there are some schools that are doing that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like putting the rifle up on the on the mantle. It's like somebody needs to invent some phone holders. Put them, leave them in the garage and plug them in. You're done. Yeah.
I think people are starting to not trust the public schools, especially kindergarten level age, so much, where they don't want to let their young kids between 3 and 7 years old alone by themselves. They don't even trust the schools anymore.
No.
So they're giving them Apple Watches and tracking devices, monitoring them all day
long.
where they're walking around in the school all day long, because they're just so paranoid that
Well,
anything can happen.
Another side of that too is how much of the education today is on a device. I mean, every kid has their own tablet, their own Google Chromebook or whatever, and that's how they're learning, is from technology, through that technology, which is concerning too. What are some other things? What are some other things we can implement to help with this? Maybe set some physical limits, right? Have rules in your home about how much time can be spent on these things. Maybe certain days where you just
Be in the bedroom.
yeah, there. Well, definitely, yeah. We talked about that in a previous lesson. Yeah, especially with kids, no devices in the rooms, in your bedrooms, no devices. Anybody in a private area of the house by yourself. So,
Replace the time with better activities.
yes,
Bible study,
that's right. Yeah,
prayer time.
be creative, replacing. Yeah, yeah. What did people do before they had cell phones all the time? Right? They read in the evening. Yeah, forced people to talk to each other. Yes. Yeah, so do those things, implement those things. If you can't put down the screen to give your wife or your kids the attention they deserve, how do you expect them to respond in the same way? So we have to be leaders in this area. And how can Deuteronomy 6:7 type of discipleship take place in a house where everybody's mentally somewhere else with a screen in their hand? Just can't. So we have to build these boundaries, and they have to be set in order for us to have a solid family unit, relationships. And he says, until boundaries are placed on technology, it will continue to keep families divided. It will hinder them from opening the Bible, praying, having discussions together. These innovations have reached the point where you either control them or they control you. So it's pretty easy to evaluate in your own home. How are these things controlling us, or are we controlling them? So suggestions that he gives, Deuteronomy 6:7, that's the passage talks about us training our children. He says no phones at the dinner table. That's number one there under 5A. Number one, no phones at the dinner table. And we said no phones in the dining room, right? Eat meals together. Have certain nights of the week that you definitely are going to be together. No distractions. Secondly, no phones when someone is talking to you. Make a conscious effort to put your phone down. Put it somewhere else when you need to carry on a conversation. Can you imagine how Jesus' ministry would have changed if he met the woman at the well, or Nicodemus, or Zacchaeus in a modern cultural setting? How would that have panned out? It's interesting to think about. Conversation is important. Its natural counterparts, eye contact, body language, they're all important. You put all three of them together, then you have one of the most basic, yet most profound ways of showing other people that you do care about them. Second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. You can't do that very easily just through social media. And we need to look at people, make sure that we're not saying this thing's more important than you when we're talking with someone. Have set times for leaving phones at the house or even turning them off. So he recommends setting days on the calendar, setting times during the day on your calendar where you don't have your phone on. Completely turn it off. What was it like without cell phones? What are some of the things that you remember having to do, or ways of doing things that you had to do before a cell phone? You had to remember phone numbers. That was one that came to me. What else? You always had to have a quarter in your car, right? I remember one time I was already working for my dad as an older teenager, and we had a flat tire on one of our trailers, and our crew was shut down, couldn't go anywhere. And the closest convenience store was like half a mile down the road. I had to tell the crew, I'll be back in a little bit. There was no other way. I couldn't go. We were taking care of multi-million-dollar homes. I'm not going to go in. Can I use your phone? And with all the grass and junk all over me, dirty. So I had to walk down the road to the convenience store, take a quarter with me, call Dad, tell him what's going on. He had to come back with the stuff to fix it. I had to walk back. Yeah. We did things, right? You got it done. You were able to, life carried on. We didn't know about things split second, but in a lot of ways it was easier in some respects, and in a lot of ways we knew each other a lot better too, didn't we? Yeah.
Somehow we still always managed to find each other.
Yeah. You had to use a map. I mean, but
Biggest memory is going on trips with my mom and
Big
around the
books.
map.
Yeah.
Directions.
Yeah, Cody probably still remembers when he was younger. We on our trips to Florida, we had the route highlighted on every state, and the atlas went next to Dad's seat right here. We had to pull out. A lot of times we got lost. We made a wrong turn. Were we still in this state? We had to get the map back out, figure out where we're going. We got there, right? Eventually.
It was very freeing. Like I think of, and like even a few times where I've left my phone places, I'm like, oh, I don't have my phone, and like it's great.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like the not like I don't have to constantly check it, and my watch isn't going off, and it's very freeing. And I remember that growing up and not having a cell phone, and just there was so much freedom in that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to constantly reply and be there for someone and respond to a message or answer a call. It was just I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Did you have some?
I was just gonna say, you had to communicate a whole lot more.
Hmm.
Had to let everybody know where you're going to be and what time you're gonna be back, and, you know,
Yeah.
you couldn't just take off and then say, oh, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah, we had an attention span. That's something else too. If you notice that, it's the normal attention span for people is drastically dropped with social media. But he says turn the screen off. One of the best ways to break any habit is to just cut ourselves off from it. And for particularly important things, weddings, funerals, a night out with your spouse, Bible class, worship, turn it off. Don't even have it on. Don't even make it a temptation. Sometimes he says, I leave it behind. It feels bizarre now, but that was standard operating procedure for every single human until 30 years ago, that you left the phone at home.
Because the cord wasn't long enough.
Yeah, just leave it at home. Once you get in the right place mentally, your actions will follow, and it will show your family what is most important. If you're like me and you grew up in the first cell phone generation, you know this is an uphill battle, but it's a battle for true love and care in our relationships with other people, and that battle is worth fighting for. We've heard think before you speak. What about think before you like? Yeah, he said before you like. That's that last fill in the blank. Or think before you post. Yeah. And this is an important concern too, because we have a responsibility to not bring reproach upon the church. And he says that social media is an easy outlet for us to inadvertently bring reproach on the bride of Christ. Because it's very easy to be scrolling. You see something, you see somebody on vacation, and you hit like, you hit heart, and you like, okay. And then without even looking at all the pictures, maybe the third or fourth picture in that post that you liked is them drunk, or them in some scantily clad outfit, and you've liked it. And then somebody else sees that you liked it. What's that correlation do to your reputation, to your witness? It's something to think about. Everything that we like or we post could potentially bring reproach on the church. This is the bride of Christ that you're part of. We have a greater responsibility, a greater connection than the world does to something that is eternal, and we have to be careful that we don't just like something or retweet something or post something that has profanity or immodesty in it, even if we weren't the original originator of the post, because it might be seen by someone else who does know us. And it may hurt our witness to those individuals. And so he says it's a problem. First, it's a heart problem if what we like displays something inappropriate. because it can show that it's a window into our heart. Why would a Christian young person today be liking that post, someone might say? Why would they retweet it or like an image of someone that was dressed like that, doing those things? And these are not things that are seen as being more Christ-like. And it might be a symptom of the fact we've fallen comfortable with the world. We're so comfortable with the world that we're now liking the things that are worldly. And second, he said this could mean that the individual has forgotten that they represent the church. We are Christians in the eyes of our coworkers, our classmates, our family members, and those lost in sin look at that behavior, and it causes them to maybe not feel a conviction of sin because it's, oh, well, that person approves of this. That's okay. They like this. And so it might hurt our ability to bring them to Christ. So it matters. It matters what we look at, but it also matters what we like, what we repost. It matters what your friends think of you putting your stamp of approval on it. Christ died for the church. And when you click the like button, you're a representative of the bride of Christ. Be careful what we look at and what we like. Do not take that responsibility lightly. Any final thoughts? Yeah.
This whole talk about the phone is making me think of my granddaughter. She's 30, calls me almost every day, and I can tell when she's reading something that someone texted her. I ask her a question, and there's this long pause. She always remembers what the question was, but she is looking at what other people are sending while she's talking to me.
I caught myself doing that today. Yeah, I was studying for I was putting this together, and it was poor Jan. It was Jan, and she came in and said something to me, and she said, "Oh, I forgot to do such and such." I forgot to highlight something on the prayer list, and I was absorbed in this text string, and I said, "Okay," and she left, and I said, "Jan, what did you say?" She said, I told you I forgot to highlight something on the prayer. Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. So it's easy. It's super simple. It's very easy to just get absorbed in this little electronic thing that can so easily take over. We have to harness it. It can be a great tool to do a lot of good. We have more information now than we have the people who used to talk about, in ancient times going to the colleges at Alexandria because, there's had all the books there. They wanted to go to these libraries where all the knowledge was. We've got thousands of libraries at our fingertips. So much knowledge. And we need to use it for the right purpose. And you use it for God's glory and for spreading His kingdom. So, all right, let's close with a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for these reminders, for the reminder to always put you first, to think about how we're spending our time and our energy, what we're supporting, things that we look at, our interactions with other people. There's just so many important concerns, and we know we only have so much time on this earth. And we pray that we're redeeming the time and that we're doing our best to use it wisely for your purpose. Help us to check ourselves daily, to put up protective guardrails on anything, not just social media, anything that would consume us, distract us from the way you would want us to live, and keep us from interacting with others, ultimately to be able to share the gospel with them. May we use social media for your good purpose and to learn, and to help others to grow. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Have a good night.